I use Workbench because I'm a contract developer and I'm working on so many different projects and in so many different versions of Synergy at the same time that the Workbench to me gives me the ability to switch between projects very easily, as well as, of course, things like the IntelliSense editing so that I can get the syntax of commands and everything. I'm not constantly having to look through different manuals to get that information. So the Workbench to me is just a huge productivity builder.
The objectives we were trying to achieve by moving to Professional Series Workbench was to move from a simple text-based editor to an integrated editing environment, basically to save time and money.
Workbench helped us reach our objectives by helping us get developers up to speed a little bit quicker through the code colorization and the optimizations provided by the Workbench.
It makes tasks that used to be long and tedious, simple and automated. It allows you to organize things in a pictorial way that before were things you just had to have the scribbles on the wall, etc. Now you don't have that. You have a very simple tool that empowers you and allows you to go forward faster. And anyone that has not tried this, the proof is in the pudding. I still say that if anybody sits down and actually uses it, they will not go away without wanting to buy it. It's that simple.
Some of our favorite features of the Workbench are the IntelliSense capability, where it brings up function help, and certainly the code colorization helps developers peruse or read through the source code that we have currently.
Favourite features in Workbench are really, I would say, the ability to search and optionally replace the use of fields within the whole of a project.
Some of my favorite things about the Workbench are the color coding, the auto indentation, the ability to understand the syntax of the language, the IntelliSense where I type in an XCall routine and press the open parenthesis and it gives me a list of all of the parameters so I don't have to go and look those up. The field lists out of the repository, I mean, those are just some of the, the most important things to me.
Main benefits of the Workbench has been the syntax checking, the highlighting, integrating the repository with the Workbench so that if you're developing something, you're not having to go and look at a definition file every 5 minutes to work out what the exact name of a variable is or a record field that you're looking to add into your program is. Everything is basically pop-up. It's a familiar environment for anybody who's been working with, for example, Visual Studio or something like that. It's similar.
I particularly like the color coding, the language sensitivity, so that in my own role I don't code regularly. I would code occasionally on particular projects or possibly looking at some of the new features. And so when it can prompt me with the arguments for subroutines and automatically do my indentation and automatically put end statements for my begin statements, I find that is very useful.
Workbench definitely does increase productivity. There are certain things that you do during the day which you have to do over and over and over again, and Workbench tends to enable you to do those things faster. It might only save you a couple of seconds at a time, but those seconds really add up. It's like if you're doing it 100 times a day. It's like you can save hours in a week. I've heard 20% productivity gains by using Workbench, and I can easily believe it, certainly from my own experience of it.
The only thing I come out of there for is the interruptions I get with mail. Or if somebody calls on the phone and I have to go look something up or do something else. But other than that, I'm pretty much staying right there. I have a single tool that does everything. It does my code. It also allows me to get all of the tasks done that relate to that code in a very simple manner.
Workbench has helped our productivity by basically allowing us to do things much more quickly and more efficiently. It's a great time saver.
We've found that Workbench has been a great benefit to our productivity because it streamlines a lot of things together and allows them to have access to the repository and the composer, to the standard subroutines. they can call, access the help that's available within it. And so by being able to work within one consistent tool and one consistent development interface, then that is a lot more productive than what we had been doing before.
I could not imagine developing software not using Workbench, so if there's anyone out there that's kind of on the fence about whether or not they should use Workbench or not, I would highly recommend it, because I believe that your productivity gains will more than outweigh the cost of going to the Workbench.
I'd say if you're developing on Windows, so you'd have to use Workbench. I mean, you can't get away from it. But there's also no reason for not using Workbench on other platforms either, particularly with the tools that are available from Synergex to enable you to make those products work together. So, I mean, like I say, we've set up Workbench now where we can be editing and compiling in Workbench, but the compiles actually happen on our VMS systems, and there's no reason for that not to work on Unix or VMS or Linux or any other platform.
I have not seen a situation in the last couple of years where I've been on a customer site that they have not seen the editor, and immediately they're going beating on their boss, gee, you have to get me this, I'll be better. So that's the bottom line on the Workbench.
Please take the time and get into Workbench. It will certainly pay off the investment of time, and it's the sort of tool that you can use it initially in a fairly limited way. Just using it as a language sensitive editor brings great benefit in itself, but then once you're actually working within Workbench, then you will be able to progressively add and take up more of the functionality within it.
Basically, once they've tried the Workbench, coming from a simple text editor environment, they wouldn't want to go back to that old environment. They'd want to stay with the Workbench. I certainly would.